This is the 4th gen Skoda Octavia. It's bigger, more spacious, more economical. And what's in the doors instead of an umbrella? Subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on such useless trivia. Today's episode is brought to you by J&K Limited, an expert in anti-theft devices. In the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe review, I told you how the electronic e-Joylock anti-theft device works, and some of you asked me questions regarding installation, warranty, emergency situations. I'll answer those questions later on in the episode. And now let's get on with the review. What's changed on the outside? The new Skoda Octavia is about 2 cm longer and about 1.5 cm wider than the 3rd generation model. The boot is now 30 liters larger and the volume now amounts to 640 liters. That's still the largest boot in its class. From the front we see wide headlamps replaced the two piece units. The grille is now wider and lower, and the dark element at the bottom is now thinner. From the side, there is now a clearly visible line running from the fender to the tail lamp. And the bonnet now goes over the fender like in the Audi A4. 18-inch rims are an option in Germany, but standard in Poland for the style trim. In the back, wider but thinner tail lamps. Tail lamps as well as headlamps are now LED as standard, although on higher trim models, headlamps may have more advanced functions. By the way, looking at the new Octavia 3/4 rear, do you see the Avensis? What do you think? Drop me a comment. Of course, the Octavia is a compact car and it competes against models like the Toyota Corolla or the Kia Ceed. Since this is an estate or a station wagon, we start with the boot. 640 liters. By the floor, it's more than a meter wide and over 109 centimeters long, but the double floor is an option regardless of the trim level. The double-sided floor mat is a part of a Simply Clever package, as is the cleverly stowed Velcro luggage organizer system. There are also all the usual hooks, anchor points, nets, levers to fold the rear seats. Of course, without the double floor, there is no flat loading area. By the way, the Corolla gets a double floor with one soft and one hard side, so if you need to carry something dirty, you just flip the floor rather than pay extra for a floor mat. Under the floor is an optional full-size spare. The boot cover has 2 stops, so you don't need to reach in deep every time. Because of the rear window angle, there is a hard-to-reach and clean cavity back there. I get the feeling form was more important than the function. Not very Skoda-like. This car gets an electrically released tow hitch. Depending on the engine variant, the Skoda can tow up to 1600 kilograms. The electrically operated tailgate is triggered by key, gesture or a button on the tailgate, but there is no separate button to lock the car as you leave with your shopping. Also, the Corolla has better lighting inside the boot, but the Toyota tailgates take their time to open and close. In the back, there is a decent amount of legroom and headroom. A big tunnel in the middle limits footroom for whoever drew the short straw, but headroom is okay even here. The seats are comfortable. This test car gets 3-zone climate control, first time for Octavia. There is also an additional 230-volt socket, USB-C ports, an option, of course. USB ports will come in handy when charging those gadgets. There are even separate, smaller pockets for smartphones. You can also detach the tablet holder from the seat and attach it to the armrest. Behind the armrest is a ski hatch, so a pair of adults and a pair of skis in the back are not a problem. And if this is the case, drinks migrate to door pockets. Before I tell you about the revolution in the cockpit, I would like to focus on one of the new elements. For the first time in a Skoda, we get shift-by-wire gear selector. This makes it possible to offer things like a more advanced automatic parking assist, where the driver doesn't need to change gears and the car will park itself. Thanks to shift-by-wire, it's also possible to install modern anti-theft devices like the eJoylock by J&K Limited, who are sponsoring today's episode. eJoylock is an electronic module installed between the gear selector and the original cable. It cuts the connection between the gear selector and the gearbox, and in order to unlock it, you need a smartphone with an eJoylock app installed and paired. I showed you how it works in the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe review, which I'm linking to on the screen and in the description below. You asked me some questions about the eJoylock, so here are the answers to some of the most recurring ones. So, first of all, what if you don't have a phone or my phone stops working? What then? Well, there's a backup procedure. You can unlock the eJoylock with a pre-programmed sequence of the sort of gear selector moving. You can program the sequence when you're lending a car to someone, for example, and you don't want to authorize their app. Once they're done with it, you can change the sequence again. There are also other options, so don't worry, you're covered. Next question. Does eJoylock impact the car's warranty? Well, the Joylock only filters information from the CAN bus, making it impossible to put the car in gear. It doesn't send any information to the CAN. The eJoylock has TÜV certificate, and it should actually be installed by authorized car dealers and service stations, so they will not install something that voids your warranty. Next question, how long is the installation process? Well, it takes about 3 to 4 hours and should be performed by your car dealer. For more details, see the J&K Limited website, link in the description below. And the next question is, how effective is the eJoylock? Someone could steal your phone and unlock the car. Well, they would also have to steal your car keys. As with any anti-theft device, the goal is to deter and to slow down the thief. In case of the eJoylock, it would take at least an hour of work with noisy tools to dismantle the device. Also, if you don't want to use a smartphone app, you can use a Bluetooth-enabled token, which you have with you, preferably not attached to your car keys. More about the eJoylock in the BMW 2 Series review and on the J&K Limited website, links in the description. And now let's talk cockpit. When I posted the steering wheel photo on Instagram, it caused some interest. The steering wheel is double spoke. It's rare, but not unheard of. Some could say it's an ideal steering wheel for traveling salesmen who like to hold the wheel with just one hand down low. Don't do it. In an emergency situation, you won't be able to perform an evasive maneuver.
Virtual Cockpit is now standard from middle trim up. There are several data presentation themes. 2 shiny scroll wheels on the steering wheel are for the radio and trip computer controls. The cruise control lever is behind the steering wheel, but thanks to it being double spoke, I can see it and I don't have to learn it by heart. Center of the dashboard is dominated by the infotainment system touchscreen. Good thing Skoda left physical buttons to access critical functions. Also, some of the key functions remain visible on the screen rather than being tucked away in multi-stage menus like in some cars. The amount of customization can be overwhelming at first. You can set everything from the ambient lighting color to the intensity of the blind spot monitoring warning light. More about driver aids later. At first glance, the interior looks premium. Sit in it for a while and it seems to feel more like premium mediocre. A lot of shiny surfaces attract dust and fingerprints, and this is not chrome, but plastic. There are also too many materials, too many textures, as if the designers couldn't pick one theme and they decided to just use everything they pitched. Cup holders are small, rather good for those thin energy drink cans than for one of those reusable water bottles. There is an optional smartphone holder to fill one of the cup holders. Lo and behold, it now holds more than an iPhone 3. Larger drinks end up in the door pockets. Under the adjustable armrest, there is a place for a wallet. Other bits and bobs get a one-way ticket to the glove box. The smartphone cubby no longer locks, so the USB cables won't obstruct the lid. In this car, with additional USB-C ports, there is also a port next to the rearview mirror, so if you have one of those dash cams or you want to use your own sat-nav, you don't need to run a cable across the dash or under the upholstery. Skoda Octavia is a great choice for a family estate or a fleet car, so it's going to do a lot of motorway miles, whether it's for a family vacation or with merchandise in the boot. This is where a frugal engine and comfort count the most.
New emission standards and WLTP fuel economy testing mean car companies offer less engine variants and focus on the most popular motors. In the Octavia, we currently have a 1.5-liter 150 horsepower petrol and a 2-liter diesel 115 or 150 horsepower. The latter comes with DSG only, everything else gets a 6-speed manual. Later down the line, there is going to be the entry 1-liter 110 horsepower TSI, as well as the range-topping VRS models, petrol, diesel and hybrid.
This car has the 2-liter diesel with DSG. Skoda claims this should use about 5 liters per 100 kilometers combined. According to WLTP standard, it's a realistic assumption, although it comes at a price.
If you believe a family car should be fun to drive when you drop the kids off to school, I strongly suggest you keep away from the driving mode selector and the dynamic chassis control. Both are optional. Because of the emissions regulations, the Volkswagen Group is doing everything in its power to keep what's coming out of the tailpipe in check in everyday driving conditions. This means you feel the 360 Nm of torque mainly in sport mode, otherwise you'll have to wait.
Let's say I want to overtake a lorry. I check the coast and it is clear, I check the mirrors, I put my foot down and nothing happens. It takes ages for the car to react.
The same goes for adaptive cruise control on the motorway. The way around it is to go into the individual mode settings, set the adaptive cruise control and gearbox to sport and leave everything else in normal or comfort, especially the suspension. As it is often the case with adaptive suspension across the Volkswagen Group range, it is noisy when the tarmac gets less than perfect. Waste of money. What about comfort?
The new Octavia is the first Skoda to feature Ergo seats with the German Campaign for Healthier Back certificate. I drove around 700 kilometers in a single day and my back felt fine. Noise was more of a problem.
I know you can order the Octavia with acoustic windows, but this test car doesn't seem to have it. Perhaps this option wasn't available in early production run, just like the Travel Assist package. The Travel Assist package allows for semi-autonomous driving, like in the refreshed Passat or the new Golf. It's adaptive cruise control, lane assist, lane change assist, traffic sign recognition, all working together. The car can even slow down before a speed limit or a junction.
This test car doesn't have Travel Assist because early production and coronavirus. It doesn't even have traffic sign recognition, which Skoda tells me is available only with full-on Travel Assist. I think that's a bit selfish of Skoda because not everyone needs semi-autonomous driving, but traffic sign recognition improves everyone's safety.
I think it's something Skoda could simply unlock in SatNav. Once in a while, I see some speed limit or junction warnings which I assume were deemed critical by the designers, but they seem to appear randomly.
For the first time in a Skoda we also get HUD. It would be great to see speed limit on it. It shows SatNav directions, though Android Auto SatNav directions are displayed only on the central screen, not on the HUD and not on the virtual instrument cluster. Simply not clever, Skoda. Simply not clever.
And something I pointed out in the Touareg and the Golf. This central display forced the air vents to the bottom of the center console, just around the wrist and elbow. My physiotherapist is not impressed. Prices of the new Skoda Octavia start at €26,670 for the sedan and €27,350 for the estate. At the time of filming, the entry model with a 1-liter engine and in base trim was still unavailable and pricing in Germany hasn't been announced. This test car in style trim with options costs around 44,000 euro. Assuming you don't need the largest boot in the segment, you could walk away with a Kia Ceed Estate or a Toyota Corolla or an Opel Astra and have a lot of change left. But none of these cars has a snow brush in the doors. Skoda always surprises with simply clever solutions, but is that enough to brush off the competition? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe, like, press the bell icon to get the notifications. YouTube algorithm is such a cruel mistress, and the more people get to see my reviews, the more I'm motivated to make more new ones. New reviews every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I thought I'll record a short postscriptum to the Skoda Octavia review, because everything looks fine, but the devil is in the details. So there were a couple of errors which kept appearing during this review, but never on camera, so I couldn't capture them. The most often common recurring error is the key discovery, the keyless whatever entry. It doesn't see the key, even though the key is either on me all the time, or even the key is in the car, because as we switch cameras, get in and out, the key stays in the car. So that keeps popping up every day, a couple of times every day. The second error is the lane assist is a bit too, I wouldn't say aggressive, but it sees problems where there aren't any problems. And I experienced the same thing in the Skoda Kodiaq. Driving on the motorway, or generally driving straight for a longer time, triggers the whatever warning system that, you know, hold your hands on the wheel, keep driving, keep driving. I'm driving, okay? Another error that popped up yesterday and lasted for like half a day, we had to turn the car off, keep it off for a few hours, and then it all disappeared, was the parking sensor system error. Just generally everything was wrong with the park assist. And the last thing is the voice assistant, which is called Laura. So if you keep talking and all of a sudden you say okay something, not necessarily Laura, you can say something that sounds like Laura. Okay Laura. See, now she doesn't work. Okay, now she does work. But sometimes it's enough if you just say okay and she will pop in, or you say okay something which maybe sounded like Laura. She will interject. She will, you know, stop your conversation, whatever conversation you're having with your passenger. Again, Laura can be turned off, so this is not a deal breaker. It's just something that should have been programmed better. And Volkswagen and its partners should know quite a lot about software, I think.